Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, we know that the current state of Disney and Marvel and Star Wars out there is, well, pretty abysmal out there. A lot of people have been considered Star Wars a dead brand for quite a while now because every new thing that they put out just simply ends up being worse than the last one. Well, with Inside Out 2 absolutely crushing it at the box office and actually blowing past my own expectations for a movie that ended up becoming completely and totally successful, well, now because it is officially launched on Disney Plus and because Disney, in their absolute pride for how well Inside Out 2 is doing, released a bunch of numbers of how well that movie is doing. And needless to say, ladies and gentlemen, it is crushing all other Star Wars and Marvel products on Disney Plus, and it's not even close. And ladies and gentlemen, that shows you what a disastrous dumpster fire Star Wars and Marvel's current slate absolutely find themselves in, because this is abysmal. A Pixar movie is doing better than what is at one point arguably the most profitable franchises in human history, Star Wars and Marvel, both owned by the Walt Disney Company, but because of certain diversity, inclusion, and equity requirements, the path they decided to go down to, they've turned them into very damaged brands. And now we have numbers from Disney themselves confirming how much of an abysmal state that we find ourselves with current Disney, Star Wars, and Marvel. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about here today, boys and girls, because these numbers are bad and it is hilarious to talk about. So we're going to check out this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all of the juicy details and see exactly what we've got going on here and how badly these numbers show the state of current Disney, Star Wars, and Marvel. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Does it surprise you at all that Pixar's own Inside Out 2, who made over $1 billion at the box office globally, is absolutely crushing the current slate of Disney, Star Wars, and Marvel over there on Disney Plus? Let us know what you think about all of that down below, and it helps out with the algorithm. Disney wins with Inside Out 2 ratings, but reveals major Star Wars problem. Oh, it's not just Star Wars, it's Marvel as well. There's plenty of reasons for Disney CEO Bob Iger and his merry executives to pop champagne bottles today. Inside Out 2, the Disney Pixar animated feature film from this summer, as released onto Disney Plus streaming. By the way, this is by WDW Pro. In case I missed it, shout out to Pro. To say it is popular is not really articulating it well. Rather, might one say that it is a record-breaking box office performance of a movie is continuing apace in the digital space. Color us shocked there. Still, not everyone is excited. In releasing the gargantuan viewership data for Inside Out 2, Disney has also managed to out both Star Wars and Marvel as having lost their popularity with modern audiences. You know, the actual modern audience that shows up to buy your toys and buy your tickets and goes to see your movies and goes out there to see signs up for your streaming services. You know, that modern audience, not the alleged fake falsification of a modern audience that you thought you were developing all of this stuff for. Yeah, how'd that work out for you? First, let's get good news for the Walt Disney Company. Both Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine are real returns to form in its term of eliminating divisive agenda content and winning with mainstream consumers. Here's the phenomenal statement of Disney Plus regarding its Inside Out 2 on Disney Plus for the first 5 days. Now, if you want to go out there and read the entire statement, by all means, go right ahead. But this is the key. Go check out Park Place's article over there and go check out their stuff out there and go through and read through the article. But this is the important part. Inside Out 2 drove 30.5 million views globally on Disney Plus based on 5 days of streaming, making it the #1 film premiere on Disney Plus in 2024, the #1 theatrical film on Disney Plus since Walt Disney Animation Studios' Encanto, and the #1 film premiere of all time on Disney Plus in Europe, yada, 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 and Latin America. Additionally, excitement for the sequel drove viewers to revisit the original in huge numbers. Since the first Inside Out 2 teaser premiered, they have done more than 120 million views on Disney and Pixar's Inside Out globally on Disney Plus. Now, those are incredible numbers. Those are great. Those are fabulous. Those are wonderful. They should be very, very proud of that. And guess what? We know from all of the insiders who decided to go cry and whine over it at IGN that they intentionally cut all of the gay nonsense out of this movie before it was released. The executives flat out said, no, 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 you're not doing that because we are not having another flop on our hands like Lightyear. And of course, all of the Pixar fired employees absolutely lost their minds over it. So this is where things get interesting. There's no denying that Inside Out 2 is doing a tremendous job in the race for ratings. Conversely, however, this does shine a light onto two properties of a once hyper-popular franchise that continues to wither with agenda-driven narratives. Let's examine in detail. According to the press release by Disney, Inside Out 2 earned 30.5 million views over 5 days. That's an average of 6.1 million views per day. Even better, it's content that is likely to drive consumer purchases. That's fancy talk for toys, folks. If we assume for a moment that, and obviously anybody that's been to an Ollie's or a Walmart lately knows very, very well that the current slate of Star Wars and Marvel toys simply aren't selling. I was just at a Walmart a couple of weeks ago to pick up some stuff for my daughter's birthday, and we were looking through the toy aisle, and it was really funny because the only thing that was even close to being sold out or having missing spots on the racks out there were like OG Luke Skywalker, like OG Stormtroopers, none of the new stuff. All of the stuff from the Acolyte literally stacked all the way to the front of the shelves, completely and totally full and overflowing. Yeah, you'll be able to get those at Ollie's here very, very soon. So if we assume for a moment that Inside Out 2 garnered the same average views per day for an additional 2 days, that would bring Inside Out 2 to a blistering 42.7 million views in its first week of release on Disney+. Despite the large consensus that Inside 2 is not one of Pixar's best films from a quality perspective, it's more of middling. It's easily a behemoth for consumption. But how does that stand in comparison to Star Wars and Marvel on Disney+? To determine what a hit looks like versus a flop, let us turn to the most recent budget series on Disney Plus from Kathleen Kennedy and Kevin Feige. As we reported exclusively here on That Park Place, Star Wars The Acolyte had a budget of about $250 million. And that's just the initial records that we're getting right from the UK. We'd imagine those numbers are only going to go up as more of the tax filings get released. This movie probably cost them anywhere between $300 to $400 million, if not more at that point. And that's not even talking about marketing. While we don't know yet the budget for Agatha All Along by Marvel, the production quality for both series looks similar. At least for The Acolyte, that means its budget is in line with the estimated cost for Inside Out 2. So what did Disney get for those budgets? To review our findings in the past, that they've received from Inside Out 2 ROI. If we divide the viewership measured for The Acolyte by the number of days for which we are given, we discover that The Acolyte averaged 2.2 million views per day for its first 5 days. If we divide the viewership viewed up by Agatha All Along by the number of days which we are given, Marvel's new series only picked up 1.32 million. 3.2 million compared to what did we get here? Literally 6.1 million views per day. Triple the amount of The Acolyte. Triple it. And literally times 5, 6 of Agatha All Along. That is pathetic. That is Star Wars. Star Wars. Remember the most popular selling toy brand on the planet practically that it went decades without any actual theatrical releases of any kind? Yeah. In other words, Inside Out 2 approximately tripled the viewership of The Acolyte and quintupled the viewership of Agatha All Along. When combined with the knowledge that Inside Out 2 is likely a powerhouse for moving merch, as will be Deadpool and Wolverine, it's easy to see why it's such a winner compared to the other two big Disney Plus releases for the quarter. Not only are Agatha and Acolyte duds for viewership, they're duds for third-party partners and retailer sales as well. The bottom line is that Disney clearly has a path forward in which they stop the flow of flops at the box office, stem the stalled streaming content, and reinvigorate their consumer division. It's a simple strategy of excluding division from their entertainment output. When Disney stays clear of the socio-political fire, their revenue streams go red hot. Inside Out 2 is evidence of that, but so are the mishaps that are hampering Disney Plus's growth. Here's to a Disney that returns to the mainstream middle center approach to economic growth. Like Riley from Inside Out 2, Wall Street would likely jump with joy were that to happen. And I think a lot of the fans would out there too. You know, there's a lot of the fan base you're never going to get back because of the damage you've done, because of the mistakes you've made and stuff like that. I mean, there's a giant section of the Star Wars brand. I'm honestly surprised that Acolyte is getting so much less that Agatha All Along is getting so much less viewership than The Acolyte already, but we'll find out the official numbers when like the Nielsen and stuff like that, because we know the Samba numbers aren't getting reported. But there's a certain portion of their audience that they're never going to get back, right? There's a certain segment of the hardcore fans that they're never simply going to get back ever again, especially when it comes to Star Wars because of what they did in the sequel trilogy and the absolute disrespect that they did to all of our beloved favorite characters and all of that kind of stuff. So at the end of the day, this just shows you that yes, go woke, go broke is legitimate. It is real. When you decide to bet on identity politics, diversity, inclusion, and equity, you fail. Because guess what? People don't want your socio-political BS or your agenda or any of your values or your morals shoved down their throats. It doesn't work. Your new religion hasn't sold. It hasn't taken off and it hasn't bloomed. It's a failure completely and totally. And you have lost billions of dollars on doing it, Disney. And you know what? I'm glad to hear that you finally recognize the problem. That all of this nonsense, all of this LGBT garbage that you are trying to shove into children's entertainment has fallen flat. It's exactly what you deserve. And I'm glad you recognize that it is indeed the problem. Because I, for one, was a Disney kid. I hope you turn around this company. I want to see Marvel get good again. I want to see Pixar get good again. I want good stories I can introduce to my children and grandchildren going forward. This era right now, when we finally come out of it, will be considered the dark ages of Hollywood and entertainment media, whether it be video games or whether it be Hollywood. It's going to be considered a dark ages that cost them billions of dollars because they decided to bet on a bunch of moronic idiots about what was going to be the new hot thing, and it is now blowing up in their faces. They never were true believers to begin with. That's why we got nothing but virtue signaling on all of this stuff time and time again. Pixar's Inside Out 2 was a success because they cut the gay out of it. And we now know that. Let's see if they can purge the gay from the rest of Disney and actually turn this ship around. Because otherwise, if not, we've seen what happens when you go woke, you go broke. After all, Disney, you've lost billions on this agenda, and it's exactly what you deserve.